Therefore, ultimately, what I am seeking, what every human being is seeking through all one's endeavors, all one's accomplishments, all one's achievements, through all the pursuits, always is peace of mind, the happiness. What one does not want is unhappiness. And here, our scriptures, especially the Vedanta Shastram, makes it very clear. This happiness, even though it is looked upon as an end to be accomplished, a choiceless end, and this is something not to be accomplished, not to be attained. It cannot be attained. Why happiness cannot be accomplished, cannot be achieved, cannot be attained? Because attainment is always of something which we do not have. Anything which is away from you, not with you, anything which you do not have alone can be attained, accomplished, achieved. What is already there cannot be, need not be achieved. Which means, Shastram says, the happiness is always there, already there. And you are interested in everlasting happiness. You are not in happiness which comes and goes, which is a pleasure. You are interested in everlasting peace and happiness. Therefore, if the happiness it should not go at all, means it must be already there. Anything which has a beginning has an end. If you attain happiness newly, it will not last forever. Anything you attain definitely will go away from you one day. Therefore, if happiness also is something newly attained by you, definitely it will go away from you. Again you will be unhappy. Therefore, the happiness which you want is everlasting happiness. Therefore, it is not something to be attained, and it must be already there. It is already there. If already happiness is there, then why am I unhappy? Why there is sorrow? Why there is grief? Why there is sadness? Why there is so much of emotional trauma? Is it emotional pain, agony? Why it is there? It is because the scripture says, listen to me carefully. Happiness is always with every one of us. Happiness is there as the very truth of every one of us. In fact, Shastram says very clearly, you are the very happiness yourself. The very sentence is something very, it sounds very, something not acceptable for you. What? I am happiness? You want happiness to be something to be experienced, isn't it? Shastram says you are the very happiness. Where there is happiness always with every one of us means why we do not know, why we do not enjoy that happiness, because we do not know what happiness is. Therefore, Not knowing what happiness is what? Ignorance of happiness. Not knowing what happiness is the cause of your unhappiness. So being ignorant of something is as good as not having it. Even if you have something at home, if you do not know you are having it at home, it is as good as not having it. See, Dilip ji had that nice packet of coffee, powder, but he did not know the packet was there already in the cupboard. It's not that it was not there, it was already there. But he did not know it was already there. So it is as good as not having it. Not knowing what we have is as good as not having it. But even though happiness is already there, always there, we do not know what happiness is. Therefore, we do not enjoy what we already have. Now, how can I become happy if you ask? The Shastram says the only way, not 4 parts, 10 parts, all parts, 10 parts, 4 parts, many parts, 2 parts, no confusion. Only way for you to free yourself from unhappiness is to know what happiness is. Understanding, knowing what happiness is attainment of happiness. Attainment of freedom from unhappiness. It is like saying, I had a basket full of fruits called rambutan. I don't know whether you have heard about those fruits. I can never forget that example. The rambutan is a name of, see, you all don't know. I was also like you. I don't know what language it is, but Sri Lankan Tamils call it rambutan. And it's a red color, it has some, this hairy, strings on the top. Then there's the basket full of beautiful red color rambutan fruits. It was not covered with anything. It was kept there. It's like a small, cherries like, but it has some that is hairy like the strings like thing on the top of the fruit. And then I was living in Redbridge when I came to this country first time in East London. There's a Sri Lankan Tamil family. They're very nice people. Who taught me so well. Very caring people. And then the lady had to go out to the office, and when she was leaving the home, she said some relatives had brought some fruits, and she said, she didn't mention a fruit, the word fruit. She said, Swaminiji, please take rambutan. She always keeps my food ready before she leaves, because she had to go to work. And please take rambutan. I'll see you in the evening. She left, she quickly banged door and she left the office. Then I was thinking something she was telling, rambutan. And I was walking to the door and to the kitchen, in the hall. I was walking up and down, and I sat quietly. She told me to take something called rambutan. But anyway, I was not bothered. I went and I had my other food, bread and things, the whole day. And then actually I was sitting in front of the table, and I was eating my bread. I saw this basket full of fruits. They're not covered. And then she came back in the afternoon, the evening, she asked me whether I had tasted rambutan. I said, rambutan? I did not know. I told her to take rambutan. I was searching for it. I don't know. I didn't take it. I said, see, this is what is rambutan. I was experiencing rambutan all the time. I was seeing rambutan fruits all the time. They were not covered. My eyes were seeing. I was not blind. The whole day I was sitting in front of rambutan basket full of fruits. But I did not take one and taste it. Why? Because I was waiting to know what rambutan is. She told me to take rambutan. She told me to take rambutan. I was searching for rambutan. Why I was searching for rambutan? Then I left it, let her come back and tell me why I did not take it. Enjoy the rambutan in front of me. Not because rambutan was not there. Rambutan was there in front of me. I could not enjoy it in spite of having it. I could not enjoy it. I could not take it in spite of having it in front of me because I was ignorant of what rambutan was. How ignorance covered the fruit called rambutan. What covered? There was no cover, no lid, no cloth, no paper. Nothing was covering the basket full of rambutan fruits. What covered the rambutan was, I'm also not blind. My ignorance of rambutan covered the rambutan. Ignorance veils. This is what we have to understand, how ignorance covers. Ignorance veiled. Similarly here, what Shastram says, in fact, there is no time happiness. What you are seeking is not there. There is no place where happiness is not. No time happiness is not. No object where happiness is not. No person, with no person happiness is not. In fact, what is only happiness. Everywhere, always, in everything, as everything, what is happiness. Unfortunately, even though wherever you turn your head, even your own very head is what? Not outside of happiness. Unfortunately, we are searching. The one thing which you need not search for is happiness. The only one thing which you need not search for is happiness. Know why? It is always there. It's always there. But still we are searching for, isn't it? It's like Rasagulla sitting inside the sugar syrup all the time, completely soaking itself in sugar syrup. It searches for sweetness. Imagine. Rasagulla does not search for, okay, I'm just joking, I'm giving an example. Where is Rasagulla? Completely soaked in sugar syrup. And this poor Rasagulla remaining soaked in sugar syrup, searching for sugar syrup. What does it mean? Similarly, we are all the time where we are not outside of, isn't it? We are just in happiness, but still we are searching for happiness. That is mainly because we do not know what happiness is. Therefore, our ignorance of what happiness is veiling the happiness. It's covering the happiness. Therefore, the happiness which is covered by our ignorance has to be discovered. We need to discover happiness. And ignorance is covering the happiness means what can help you discover it? The discovery of happiness is only through knowing, knowledge of what happiness is. Therefore, happiness is something to be discovered, something to be known, understood, not to be attained. And in Sanskrit language, we use this word Anandaha. Happiness is in fact fullness, limitlessness. This is Anandaha. Therefore, where is Anandaha? Where is happiness? It has to be discovered. Now the question comes, how can I discover happiness? How can I know what happiness is? The question comes here. And this is where again we need the help of the Shastra. If happiness is something to be discovered, understood, known, not to be attained, it is not something away from you, it is not with you, means Shastram says again, happiness is available for recognition as the very nature of the reality. Happiness is available for recognition as the very nature of the reality. I told you, happiness is a synonym of the word fullness. Fullness is the synonym of the word limitlessness. So being limited is being unhappy. Being bound, being unhappy. And being limitless is being free, being happy. Being happy is what? Happiness. Therefore, limitlessness is happiness. And happiness is available for recognition only as the nature of the reality. Which means reality and happiness are inseparable. In fact, happiness is the reality. Like what? Heat and fire are inseparable. Heat is the intrinsic nature, inseparable intrinsic nature of the fire. Even though we use these two words, heat and fire, isn't it? Can you separate the fire, heat from the fire? Inseparable. Being hot is the very swarupam, very nature of the fire, isn't it? Fire does not become hot. Cold water, when it is boiled, it becomes hot. The water which has become hot again can become cold after some time. So that which becomes hot, again which becomes cold, in such a thing, heat is what? Incidental property. Whereas in the fire does not become hot, it's always hot, and it will never become cold, which means heat is the unchanging nature of the fire. That's why we call it nature, Swarupam. What is Swarupam? That which does not come, that which does not go, that which does not change, that which is always is what? Intrinsic nature. So what about the heat? Heat with reference to fire is the intrinsic nature. The intrinsic, unchanging, everlasting, the very Swarupam is called, what now? Is a Swarupam in Sanskritam, nature. Therefore, heat and fire are inseparable. We can't even say heat and fire. Heat is fire. Similarly, happiness, which is a synonym of the word limitlessness or fullness, is the nature of the reality. It is not something. Nature of the reality means that which does not change is the intrinsic nature, Swarupa. That reality we use this term what? Sat, Sadvastu. For example, if I take this ocean full of waves, and what is the reality with reference to ocean? Water. You all give the answer simply. It's a very easy answer. Why do you say water is the reality or the truth with reference to ocean? If you remove this one thing called water away, then the name and form ocean will disappear. All the waves will disappear. So that without which ocean cannot exist at all, that which alone is in the form of the ocean is called what? The truth of the ocean, the reality of the ocean. Similarly, there is one substance without which the universe cannot exist at all. All these elements, the elementals, the living, non-living things which constitute this universe, this entire cosmos cannot exist at all. What is one substance which alone is in the form of the universe is called what? Reality. It is implied by the term Param Brahma. What is Param Brahma? Is a term implying the reality with reference to this whole universe. Like water is reality with reference to ocean. Gold is the reality with reference to any ornament, chain or bangle. Wood is the reality with reference to any furniture. If you remove the wood, furniture will disappear. If you remove the gold, ornament, chain will disappear. If you remove water, ocean will disappear. If you remove the reality, you can't remove. If you remove, the universe will disappear. Which means, with reference to this entire universe, there is a reality implied by the term Param Brahma, absolute reality. And here we say, this we do not know what that reality is. Therefore, we do not know what happiness is. If you know what fire is, definitely you know what heat is. You cannot say, no, I know what fire is, but I don't know what heat is. Then I will say, please go and touch the fire and come back. Will you say that? You won't say that. Oh, if you know fire, you know what heat is. The baby, 8 months, 7 months old baby, the crawling baby who does not know what fire is, okay, who does not know what heat is, isn't it? Therefore, the baby will go and touch it. That is why the baby is crawling fast towards the candle or something, and you have to run behind the baby to protect it, to take it, because it is buddhu, isn't it? No knowledge. Whereas we are all fire jnanis, we are heat jnanis, therefore we are very prudent in handling the fire. Now we are very prudent. We make use of, we won't touch carelessly, and we know how to use it. You know how to make dabaras and vadas and all those things. You know how to use isn't it? The fire for making all the food and heating the water, and we enjoy, isn't it? Knowing what fire is. Similarly here, just as a child does not know what fire is, the child cannot understand at all what heat is. Similarly here, we do not know what the reality is. Therefore, we do not know what happiness is also, what fullness is also. If we need to know what fullness is, definitely we should know what the reality is. Okay? Agnehe jnanam, aushnya jnanam. Knowledge of the fire is the knowledge of what the heat is. Similarly, knowledge of the reality is knowledge of what fullness, happiness, limitlessness is. Therefore, you need not worry about happiness at all. All that you need is the knowledge of the truth. Brahma Jnanam. Knowledge of the truth is the knowledge of what limitlessness is, what happiness is, what fullness is. And knowledge of what happiness is what? Attainment of what happiness is. Which is attainment of moksha. They are not two. Even though knowledge of the truth is the means and moksha, discovery of happiness is the end, in fact, they are identical. Knowing what the fire is, knowing what the heat is, knowing what the heat is, attainment of the knowledge of the heat is what? Similarly here, knowing what the reality is knowing what the happiness is. Knowing what happiness is attainment of happiness, which is attainment of moksha. Therefore, they are simultaneous, identical. Therefore, knowledge of the truth is the means. Discovery of happiness is the attainment of moksha, which is an end. But now we say, knowledge is moksha. Attainment of the knowledge of the truth is equal to discovery of what happiness is. Therefore, means and the end are identical. Jnanameva moksha. Knowledge is freedom. Now you can make your own sentence. Ignorance is sorrow. Ignorance of what happiness is, the ignorance of what the truth is equal to sorrow, unhappiness. Knowledge of what the truth is knowledge of what happiness is freedom. What is bondage? What is moksha? You know. Now we have shifted now. First analyze the Purusharthas. We understood what is the ultimate human goal, how it is to be discovered, not to be attained, and how to discover happiness also we understood now. Now we have shifted our interest from discovery of happiness to discovery of what the reality is. Therefore, now it's very clear the ultimate purpose of living this human life is discovering what the reality is. The truth of the whole universe is. Truth of the entire life is. Therefore, how to discover the truth, we'll see the next class. Okay, I have a meeting at 1:30, and so I'll stop here and we will continue afterwards again. If we are going to have some small session afterwards, if we can come back, or we will continue this session. I'll stop. I won't do again this one. We'll do again when we meet next.